Hi, in this video, I'm going to show my completed piece and some details about what I did. And also, I'm going to give some ideas about putting birds into your own piece using fabric. And I'm going to show you some of my fabrics from my Spoonflower shop. And stay tuned to the end if you like cats and you want to see some bloopers where my kitty interrupts. Okay, let's get started. This is a red-winged blackbird, and I had just begun working on it in my previous video where I did a show and tell. So here it is completed, and I wanted to go over what I did. I did quite a bit of stitching using ovals or circles and a blanket stitch. So I began by doing blanket stitch around patches of fabric. And then I added on top, in different colors, circular type shapes. So this was a mark making exercise. It added color, it added texture. There's a lot of texture in this one because of these circles. And I added straight stitches along the bottom. And in this patch, more straight stitches in the light blue color to blend it in the background here. And the bird itself has a lot of stitching on it, which I think is hard to see on camera, but I'm very happy with the way it turned out. In a previous video where I went over my process from start to finish, one of the things that I talked about was how when I start a piece, my felt that I use on the back is usually smaller than all the pieces of fabric that I collage on the top, and that I don't worry about that, and I decide as I go along what I want to do about that. And in that original video, I ended up adding a piece of fabric on the back that I then folded in on itself to make a border. With this piece, what happened was, as I worked along, I realized that there was pieces of fabric that were extending that I liked, and I didn't want them to be folded under in any kind of edging, and I actually wanted my felt piece to be larger. So the solution to that is to add felt at the back. So I added a piece of felt along here, and I added a piece of felt along here. And so these blue stitches show where I added it here, and these green stitches show where I added it along the top. So what I did is I added a piece of felt. So I have these pieces of felt that I save from when you're cutting. Always have extras. So I have them in white and black depending on what my backing is. And so what I did in this case is I took a piece that was about this wide and I just put it right up against the edge. And I stitched it with a whip stitch all the way along the edge. And then once it was attached, then I cut it. It's harder to work with anything that's thinner than this, and so I always start with a larger piece, and then once it's stitched on, I can turn it over and see how big I want it to be, and then I can just cut off the part that I don't need. So that's what I did here. I had a piece about this width that I attached to the top and the sides. Then I sliced them off, and I had my backing the size I wanted so that the fabric was able to continue extending to the size I wanted. And then I just continued stitching and did my edging, and then it worked out being the size that I wanted. And at the end of the day, this is roughly 4 inches by 4 inches, or 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters. So that's like almost a mending workaround that I do use occasionally when I want to add to the width or the height or both. So this piece is now complete. There's my red-winged blackbird. So there's an idea that I wanted to share today, and that is cutting out from fabric birds. So this one I have cut out of black fabric, the shape of the bird, and then I've embroidered on top. But another way to work is, like I did in this piece, this bird is cut out of fabric, and I will show you from this fabric here that's in my Spoonflower shop. So this is an 8x8 square. It's a swatch of fabric that I get as a proof when I have a new fabric. And so even in a little 8x8 square, these little tiny birds, there's quite a few of them, and they can be cut out and they can be used for a slow stitching piece. And I have quite a few other ones in small scale that can be used for this. This one is blue, in blue tones. It's a little dipper bird. These are very tiny, very, very tiny little blue birds, and there's also flowers. So this could be used for slow stitching. This little bird is only, this bird is 3.5 centimeters long, or just under 1.5 inches long. So tiny, tiny, depending on the size that you want to work. Here's blackbirds. They're a little bit bigger. They're similar in size to this one. There they are in a different colorway. And then this is that same bird. A lot of my fabrics are made from paintings. And so this is about the original size that the painting was of the bird. So there's more detail you can see in this one. And it's bigger, even a little bit bigger than this bird, for example. So this one would fit on a 4x4 piece, but it would also look nice on a piece that's larger than 10 centimeters, larger than 4 inches. So this is actually the same fabric as this that I've made in a different colorway. So this is the original painting, is in this colorway that almost looks like wood in the brown and ochre tones. And then digitally, I've been able to shift this color to have sort of these pink and purple in the background. And this one I made at a larger scale. These are tiny again, little birds. This one is kind of a hippy-dippy purple background. And here's a different colorway with the birds being white. And there's blue. And these are purple birds. So these are really good ways that you can get a bird to put on top of slow stitching that you're doing. These are all in my Spoonflower shop, and I will put links below if you want to have a look at them. This is a whole series I've done where the birds are white, which is, and they're crisp white color, all of them. And this is a nice way to have a bird shape, and it gives you lots of options about how you want to stitch on top of and decorate the bird. So this has blue and purple and some green. In this version, mostly green with some blue. This version is a nice persimmon, reddy orange color. And there's sort of purple and blue in the background. And this is the same design with purple and orange. And the same design, very similar to this one. This one has purple with the persimmon. And this is a slightly different design, but very similar with blue. This one has orange, a couple of shades of nice peachy orange. And then this is a smaller scale with blue and a nice teal, and nice purple with a pale blue. So those are some ideas for slow stitching. Hi, Hazelnut. Hazelnut's visiting. So we have a new kitten that we've had since October. It's now the end of February. So she's lots of fun. Yeah, I'm gonna do some stitching, Hazel. What do you think of that? What do you think of that? Maybe you can have a nap? Maybe you can have a nap and I can stitch. What do you think of that? Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna do some stitching. No, Hazel. Oh, Hazel.